Okay, so are you ready for this?
Always.
Because today we're diving into some pretty intense material.
Oh, yeah.
The Magna Inscription.
Wow, even the name sounds kind of ominous.
It does, right. And we're talking about this document that lays out all these principles of this group.
Right.
They call themselves the RTBNXH Order.
Okay.
And they have some pretty strong opinions, let me tell you,
Yeah.
about the future.
Yeah, it's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
This document is like a manifesto and a declaration.
Right.
But it's also kind of like a glimpse into this very specific worldview.
Right.
All in one.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And also a bit unsettling.
It is.
To say the least.
Yeah. So the big question for us today is, what does this inscription tell us about the RTBNXH Order and what they actually want?
Yeah, because they definitely want something.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not afraid to say it.
No, they're not.
Right from the start.
Uh-huh.
In the preamble.
Yeah.
They talk about the end of the era of subjugation. Wow. They use this powerful imagery.
Right.
They talk about the weak clinging to power.
Right, and it's all very deliberately vague.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, who are they talking about here?
Right.
Are they talking about specific institutions? Individuals?
Yeah.
Or is this just like a general idea of like
the
power structure?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a mix of both.
Okay.
They're trying to create this sense of like us versus them.
Yeah.
You know, they're the strong ones, the deserving ones.
Right.
And everyone else is just holding them back.
Yeah. And that sense of them deserving power comes through loud and clear in Article 9. The sovereignty of the order.
Right.
They reject any higher authority at all.
Wow.
Any traditional power structures.
It's a radical stance.
Yeah.
Almost anarchistic in a way.
Uh-huh.
But what's interesting is they're not advocating for chaos.
Right.
They want to replace the existing order with their own very specific vision.
So it's like anarchy with a purpose.
Exactly.
A very ambitious purpose.
Very ambitious.
But how do they actually envision this working in practice? Like, how do you go from rejecting all authority to creating a functioning society?
Well, that's one of the big questions this document raises.
Right.
And I think part of the answer lies in their views on technology, which they outline in Article 2.
All right.
They talk about cryptocurrency, you know, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin.
Right.
But not in the way we usually think about it.
Yeah, they call them like weapons of permanence.
Right.
War banners.
Exactly.
That's not your average crypto investment strategy.
It is not.
No.
What's fascinating here is they're linking technology to power, to control.
Right.
The blockchain isn't just a financial tool to them.
Yeah.
It's a way to inscribe their ideology onto something that is permanent.
Right.
Immutable. They're trying to harness the very nature of the technology.
Wow.
To solidify their vision.
So it's almost like they're trying to code their own reality into existence.
That's a good way to put it.
And this brings us to Article 3.
Okay.
Where they completely abolish permission.
This is where their rejection of authority gets really explicit.
Yeah.
They believe in acting without asking for permission.
Wow.
Enforcing their will on the world.
Huh.
They say, we carve our reality into the immutable ledger.
Okay.
And the world will adapt or be left behind.
It's a bold statement.
It really is.
It makes you wonder how serious they are about this. Are they serious, or is this like a provocation? Is it performance designed to shock and get attention?
That's a question we'll be grappling with throughout this whole deep dive. Because even if it is a performance, it reveals a lot about their mindset.
Okay.
Their values and their ambitions.
And one of the most intriguing parts, and honestly unsettling parts of their philosophy, is this fascination with sound.
All right.
Which they get into in Article 4.
Okay.
The mandate of sound mastery.
This is where things take a strange turn.
Yeah.
They're not talking about music for enjoyment.
Right.
They see sound as a tool for control.
Oh, wow.
And influence.
Huh. The
inscription states, "He who masters sound masters minds."
It's a chilling thought. And it also raises the question of how do they actually envision using sound this way?
Yeah.
What's the practical application of this sound mastery?
Well, that's one of the areas where the document gets kind of vague.
Right.
They talk about using sound to shape reality, to align vibrations with intent.
Okay.
But the specifics are left to our imaginations.
Yeah. It definitely leaves you with this feeling of unease.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when you consider their overall goal.
Right.
Which they make very explicit in Article V.
Okay.
The obliteration of the old guard. They're not interested in compromise or reform. They want to just tear down the existing systems.
Yeah, and it's not just destruction for destruction's sake. They believe that they're making way for something new.
Okay.
Something better.
Better, according to their definition of better.
Of course, yeah.
But what do they even mean by the old guard?
Right.
What institutions or ideologies do they see as obstacles?
That's where things get murky again.
Okay.
They use broad terms like outdated systems, decadent structures, the shackles of the past.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to appeal to this, general sense of dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
This feeling that things aren't working and need to change radically.
It's a tactic used by revolutionary movements throughout history.
Yeah.
Create a sense of urgency, a sense of crisis.
Yeah.
And then present yourself as the solution.
Exactly. And the RTBNXH order is very clear about what that solution looks like.
Okay.
Their own unchallenged dominance, which they lay out in Article 6, the right to dominate.
No ambiguity there.
Nope.
They're not asking for a seat at the table.
Right.
They want the whole table to themselves.
And anyone who disagrees is seen as an obstacle.
Yeah. They're incredibly self-assured, even arrogant, you could say.
Right.
They believe their vision is the only correct one.
Yeah.
And anyone who disagrees is just in the way.
It brings us to another big question.
What's that?
Is this a genuine belief system?
Okay.
Or is this a persona?
Yeah.
A way to get attention and followers?
It's the real puzzle here.
It is.
Because on the one hand, their language is so extreme, so over the top, that you just want to dismiss it as performance.
Right.
But on the other hand, there's this real intensity to it.
Yeah.
A real conviction.
It's hard to ignore.
It's a tightrope walk, and they're doing a pretty good job of keeping us guessing.
Right.
Which might be exactly what they want.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Speaking of control, this brings us to how the RTBNXH order views those who don't fit their mold.
Right.
Which is addressed in Article 7, the law of eternal fire.
Oh, yeah, the fire metaphor. It pops up a lot in this document.
It does.
Like they're really trying to cultivate this image of unstoppable force and passion.
Exactly. They compare their ideology to this eternal blaze that just consumes everything in its path.
Okay, but fire can also be destructive.
True.
And not everyone wants to be part of a raging inferno.
No.
And it's interesting because Article 8, the exile of the unworthy, explicitly addresses this idea of exclusion. Not everyone gets to ride this wave.
This article is concerning. It makes you wonder about who they consider unworthy and what criteria they use to decide that.
Right. Like, are they just trying to sound edgy?
Yeah.
Or provocative? Or do they actually believe they have the right to choose who's in and who's out?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, and that question of sincerity keeps coming back.
It does.
And then we get to Article 9X, the immutability of power.
This is where they tie their authority directly to the blockchain.
Interesting.
They're saying what is inscribed cannot be erased.
Wow. So they're using the technology to legitimize their claims.
Exactly. They're saying their power is just as permanent and unchangeable as the blockchain itself.
It makes you think about how the internet and the blockchain could be used for more authoritarian purposes in the future.
It's definitely a cautionary tale.
It is.
Because even if this group fades away, these ideas could have a lasting impact.
Okay, so that brings us to the final article, Article X.
Okay.
The Ascendant Doctrine.
This is where they lay out their vision for their followers.
Well, they're recruits.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just looking for believers.
Yeah.
They want people who will participate.
Yeah. They use this strong language.
Yeah.
Ascending beyond limitation. Embracing the fire within.
Right.
Shaping the future with unwavering will.
It's like they want to create this new kind of human.
It's a cult of personality.
Okay.
But instead of a leader, The object of devotion is this ideology.
This ascendant doctrine.
Exactly. They're demanding absolute loyalty and obedience.
Which raises some red flags.
Absolutely.
Because blind devotion to any ideology can be dangerous.
It can.
So after all this, what's your overall assessment?
Oh, well.
Are we dealing with a real threat here? Or is this more like performance art?
I think it's both.
Okay.
And that's what makes them so fascinating. And dangerous. Right. They blur the lines between reality and performance.
Yeah, it's like they're playing a game.
Right.
And we're all invited to play, but the stakes could be very real.
And that's the question we have to keep asking.
Yeah.
What are the real-world consequences of this?
Right.
And are we ready for them?
You know, it's interesting how they position themselves in this inscription. They use this language that reminds you of historical documents.
Like what?
Like the Magna Carta, Declarations of Independence, even religious texts.
It makes you wonder what they're trying to do.
Yeah, like what are they trying to achieve?
It's a clever tactic.
Okay.
By referencing these powerful cultural and historical things, they're trying to give themselves legitimacy.
Right.
Authority.
Like we're not just some fringe group.
Right.
We're part of a long tradition.
Exactly.
But at the same time, their ideas are so radical.
They are.
They're so different from...
I know. The values of these historical documents.
It's almost like they're subverting tradition.
Yeah.
Twisting it to fit their agenda.
They're hard to pin down.
They really are.
They're playing with our expectations, using this familiar language and imagery.
Yeah, but in these unsettling ways.
Yeah, like they're trying to provoke us, make us question everything.
And maybe that's the whole point.
Yeah, what if this inscription is less about a plan for the future and more about just disruption, challenging the foundations of society?
It's possible.
And even if they never get political power, their ideas could still have a cultural impact.
Right. They're tapping into this dissatisfaction that exists in a lot of societies today.
And they offer a very seductive solution. Control.
Right.
They promise this world where the weak are gone and everyone who follows them ascends.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
Especially for people who feel disenfranchised. Right. So it's important to engage with these ideas critically.
Absolutely.
To understand their appeal, but also to see the potential for harm.
We can't just ignore them.
Right.
We have to understand what drives this thinking.
What are the anxieties that are fueling this?
Exactly.
So where do we go from here? We've unpacked this whole inscription, analyzed all the language.
The symbolism.
The philosophy.
Yeah, but what does it all mean for the listener?
The person trying to make sense of all this.
I think the takeaway is critical thinking.
Okay.
We need to be careful with information.
Right.
Question what we think we know.
Yeah.
And be wary of those who promise easy answers.
Because the RTBNXH Order is just one example of the things fighting for our attention.
In the digital age.
Yeah. We have to navigate this. Thoughtfully.
And make informed decisions about the future.
So what kind of future do you think is out there?
I don't think it's about blind obedience or control. I think it's about dialogue, collaboration, embracing nuance.
Understanding over dominating.
Exactly.
So we'll leave you with this. The RTBNXH Order might go away.
They might.
Or they might become really powerful.
It could happen.
But the questions they raise about power and technology and the future.
You're going to stick with us.
So keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
And keep thinking for yourself.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.